With the US rejecting Ukraine's help in drone technology, Kyiv is looking to make deals elsewhere. President Zelensky came to London today to sign a defense agreement which would lead to a better protection of Ukraine's cities against Russian attacks. And to talk about it and more, we're joined by Ivana Stradner, research fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you for accepting the invitation. So the UK is signing a major defense deal with Ukraine. The question here is whether it is a smart move for the UK to accept the offer previously rejected by the US.
As a lot of people in the West are warning that policymakers might forget about what's happening in Ukraine, I think the UK signing this deal is a step in the right direction. It sends a very clear signal that the UK and other European nations are still supporting Ukraine, no matter what is happening in the Middle East. Now, the real question is how that drone technology can be used, because we already know that Ukraine really has a lot of experience with drones. And what's happening also right now in the Middle East, Iran perfectly understands that flying all those drones and depleting our missiles is a step, in the right direction. It perfectly works for Iran. So that's precisely what Zelensky understands better than a lot of leaders, and has offered help also in the Middle East. But also the UK is ramping up, their defense capabilities. So we will also see how this is going to move forward. Given that right now Ukraine needs Patriot missiles. So that's the most important thing that I'm tracking right now, to see how this is going to move forward.
Well, it's all very logical to me, but there's one thing I just fail to understand. Why is Donald Trump refusing this offer of Ukrainian help?
I have to admit, I also don't understand. And I think logically a lot of people do not understand why the U.S. could not benefit from Ukrainian research and Ukrainian technology and their experience. My assumption is that President Trump does not want to irritate right now the Kremlin, thinking that any cooperation with Kyiv might actually irritate Vladimir Putin, especially now during the negotiation process. But here is the thing. Vladimir Putin is already irritated a lot. And make no mistake, no matter what we do, he's going to continue. Poland just a few days ago struggled again with Russian hybrid activities. What we are experiencing right now in the Baltic states, when it comes to hybrid warfare, what's happening in Narva, what's happening with sea cables, all those things actually tell us all we need to know, that Putin is not willing to stop this war anytime soon. Having said that, Washington's thinking that by not trying to provoke Putin, that is going to make Putin sit in negotiation table over the next few weeks is a very poor judgment, in my view, I have to admit.
Well, there are leaders, as you said, who have no such reservations as Donald Trump. We have a quote from President Zelensky. He has what I need and I have what he needs, so I'm ready for this dialogue. That's what President Zelensky said about this planned meeting with Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, what can Ukraine get from Israel in return for interceptor drones, and could it possibly lead to better relations with the White House, as we know that Israel has a sort of a sway over Donald Trump's decisions?
So I would say first and foremost that we have to zoom out and to understand that Russia and Iran have been strategic partners. And when you add on top of that China as axis of aggressors who are acting against the West, that's precisely what Zelensky perfectly understands why tackling the Iran problem is also in Kiev's interest, but also in Western interest. And I'll just give you another example. Putin offered to mediate this conflict. Come on. It's like literally giving an arsonist a volunteer job to help with fire. That is ridiculous, and we should absolutely not fall for that. So having said that, Zelensky already offered numerous technical assistance when it comes to drones in the Middle East, and I truly hope, that Israel will take advantage along with other Middle Eastern countries, and the United States is going to also support effort when it comes to drone experience. As I mentioned, whoever believes that supporting Ukraine is going to irritate Vladimir Putin is sorely mistaken, because Vladimir Putin has been irritated since he came to power, and he already openly announced that the greatest tragedy of the 20th century was the collapse of the Soviet Union. So he's absolutely resolved to sort out that issue and to restore what he loves to call like a Russian greatness. For that, he needs chaos in Iran. He is also benefiting from that. However, I think it's very important also to play a devil's advocate and to also emphasize, come on, Russia didn't help Iran in any meaningful way. Russia didn't help with any hard power. So once again, that shows to the global south that having friends like Putin, they do not need enemies. So this is also a weakness coming from Russia. And to conclude, look, the bad news sell news. So of course, there are lots of titles, how the West is forgetting about Ukraine, how Russia is winning this war. Yes, in the short run, Russia will have benefits when it comes to oil. But I think it's really important to pause for a moment and to think in the long run. In the long run, what it means that Putin is not willing to negotiate in good faith. Second thing is we have to think about secondary sanctions and to ramp up our sanctions. And the third thing is related to Patriot missiles. Those things are important.
Well, to be honest with you, more and more countries are eyeing the idea of importing Russian oil now due to the war in Iran. And well, in your opinion, how likely is it that they will continue to do so after the conflict in the Middle East is over? And what would it mean for Ukraine then?
So Russia's center of gravity is energy. And whoever understands how Russia has been funding its war machine, it is through energy. And American strong sanctions and European decisions really made Putin in a very uncomfortable situation because his economy was indeed collapsing. This 30-day or whatever it is, allowing, easing those sanctions, people are worrying about this. It is true. But this is, what it is in the short run. We have to think in the long run. What it means that after sanctions have been eased and put back on track, we have to make sure to never again allow Russia to use that as a weapon and to weaponize energy. And that will be a test for the United States and for Europe. And that is going to happen. We're going to see in a few weeks what's going to happen.
Ivana Stradner, Research Fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, was our guest this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching, and stay with us for more interviews and news here on TVP World.